Alright, Altersberg Chronos. I am super excited to bring this to you. This is before the very first Texas Old School tournament. We did some test games. Well, if you followed some of my deck stuff around lately, you figure I'm messing around with the Dune. Well, I played a version of the Dune in here. Now, obviously, I had to make some changes because if you look at this, this is basically a version of Swedish, but some of its creators, Brian Weisman, some of these other guys are really working hard to take away the staple decks. You must play these top tier 1 decks if you want to win. Otherwise, you're not going to win unless you get some crazy luck that day and the other person has bad luck. Well, this kind of fixes that problem. Now, there will be some sure there's going to be adjustments to it because it's a normal format. We don't want 1 deck or 2 decks to rule everything else. So Brian and these other guys that created it took away basically the deck. It's not playable here. You have to totally make new versions of all this different stuff, and it mazes. So, for instance, Mind Twist is out. How many people are going to splash black for just Demonic Tutor on its own? You're going to end up with a lot of separate lands, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to see all non-basic, non-dual lands. What that means is if it's a dual land or a basic, it's allowed more than 1 copy. If it's not a dual land or it's not a basic land, guess what? It's restricted to 1. City of Brass, 1. Factory, 1. How many decks are going to go to Wayside? ATOG was mentioned before. There was a couple decks I watched play with ATOG. In fact, the deck I played with ATOG isn't playable anymore because I'm not splashing black for a single card. I can't do it because I can only run 1 City of Brass in my whole deck. So ATOG is down a couple colors, which definitely restricts what it can do. You can still run all the Moxen, but you're not going to have all the cards. You're going to have to choose between the colors. You can't run all the colors. Blood Moon is a real thing. So, you don't have cities of brasses and things like that. You still have the Moxen, but if you take a look at this, you'll see Gem Tome. Yeah, the book, down to 1 copy. Copy Artifact, down to 1 copy. You'll see things in here like those because they want to take them down so they're not overpowered. Now you'll notice it's alpha, beta, unlimited, revised, proxy friendly, of course, because it is Texas Old School, is very close friends with people who created 4 Horsemen. So you'll see the 4 original sets plus Fallen Empires. There is 1 banned card in Fallen Empires that had to be banned, and it was Hymn to Torok, because it is just too much of a game changer. So with Mind Twist gone and him gone, it basically brings a more diverse play. So you can pause this, look at it more, but again, these will be changed because this is the very first tournament. So I'm sure there's something that got missed or something, but basically this is to make everything a little more playable. So if you think you're going to slap a bunch of abysses down, nope, 1 copy in your entire deck. 1 moat in your entire deck. So think carefully on how you want to build these. That said, I threw together my Dune deck with some changes, of course, and Travis is playtesting his. So let's watch a little bit of these games, and then I have another set of game where Travis altered his deck and Chadster altered his deck. You'll see him pop in here, and I'll play some games with him as well. And then you'll see their altered versions trying to play against each other when I had to stop playing. So I had to play first. In typical Dune fashion, you're going to see Kurt Ape or a Lion out first. Now, Travis was playing I used to like to play it, and I still love playing it, but I will not play it because I like having friends. So if you can guess what kind of deck that is, put it down in the comments for me that you guessed before you saw it. But there's a quick Taiga. So now I have red, double green, white. I also have a black and a Sullivan Library. That was my first test on Sullivan Library. If I keep any, usually it's the very first ones. And because mine's top down, I like to keep my hand on the table as much as humanly possible. So there's a time walk, which I definitely agree with, because he is very far behind the game. So now he has double white. There's a Vice, but if you ever watch me play the Dune deck, Vices will maybe get me once or twice, and that's as most as they're ever going to get me. Like the deck, it is a lot of control, but it is not blue. I did it on purpose, and I still don't like playing blue in this deck. Alright, so I did my Sullivan Library. Now, I do apologize. My life dice was off camera when I adjusted it and did not realize it. So you'll see the life totals on his phone. I'm going to swing in for another 2, putting him down to 16. I'm going to slat down and earn him. There's a counter spell for the Ernie. Another thing, if you didn't notice, but City in a Bottle is also banned. We want people to enjoy playing. It's a 4 horseman thing also. But basically what we're trying to do is allow Fallen Empires cards to be played into a Swedish/4 horseman format and allow it to be a brand new adventure. I'm excited about it because I expect to see more Chains decks and Enchantress decks, because when you can't just splash 4 cities of brass and play all the power cards in the world, you're going to realize if in order to play all the power cards, you have to have all dual lands, and hello, Blood Moon. So you have to be very careful what you do. And here's that wonderful card that I had so much fun with, Stasis. That's what the deck was. If you guessed right, give yourself a high five, because, yeah, Stasis. Now, I play 19 lands in this deck. The version I had up here, I did it within 5 minutes, and I accidentally put 2 basic forests in, which you'll see eventually. But I tried to play 3 plains, because you're looking, Library of Alexandria is banned if you paid attention to first list. So if someone pulls a library, they typically win if somebody doesn't have an answer. So that is gone, no longer exists. So there's a quick plains for me. In this deck, it's very similar to my last one. I will do a deck tech and pictures and stuff like that up separately on this, and you guys can follow around adventures. I know it's probably going to give me a well, it's probably gonna hurt me in the tournament, because everyone's gonna see what I'm playing ahead of time, and they'll see my deck techs and everything. But I enjoy this format, and I'm happy to be in the very first tournament for this. So this is basically going to be a couple passes and goes. But if you have some ideas and you think you want to play in this and help us build this up and find out, if there's anything that's way overpowered, I don't believe so. I kind of leaning towards my deck as being possibly one of the runners, only because of the way it's designed. It was designed to compete in Swedish at a certain level against other decks. Obviously, I don't want to play Suchis. One thing I did not mention is this has mana burn. So if you paid attention, that's why he took a damage early, because of mana burn. So, like I said, it's really not Swedish, but it's a whole nother adventure, and it's a lot of fun. I didn't realize how much I'd enjoy starting a format like this, because this is like my dream format. Now, I don't have to worry about black vice. I know I'm not showing my hand, but I have a lot of answers in my hand. Now, one thing I do have in these first couple games is I have what's not usually a dead card, but I have 4 plows, and at the moment they're dead because he does not have creatures in his deck. So this is what I was kind of holding on to and waiting. And I still play my 3 Sarah Angels for obvious reasons. And one of them is she doesn't tap. So that's a problem for Stasis. So as we were going through these, we learned that, hey, that's a problem. So when Travis and I were talking about it, I said, I have all my Stasis cards, my resets and all that, but I typically played a combination of, I believe it was 3 plows, maybe 2 disenchants, and 4 boomerangs. And I think I had, I don't remember if it was unsummons or, I believe it was unsummon. But it was basically those kind of cards were my control aspect. And they were because of things like Sarah Angel. So I'm going to keep smacking him down here. He needs to find an answer for this angel, otherwise he is dead. He almost needs to like untap. But if he untaps, that could kill him too. I have 4 cards in hand and 3 choice from the top. So basically I'm picking the best 4 cards out of 7. And that's kind of where this goes. So in this deck, if you ever paid attention to my Dune, I did mention a little bit of the land changes. But it also can't have 2 tones. So I have 3 chain lightnings in here because I took black out. You'll see the Mox in here. That was an accidental. I forgot to take that out. I could leave it in there for extra ramp, but I wasn't sweating it too much. So black is out because I wasn't playing black for just a demonic tutor. So black came out. I adjusted my lands to 4 savannas, 4 taigas, 4 plateaus, 3 plains, 1 forest, a strip mine, and it was a Hammerheim because I'm playing Urnums, not Suchis, because of mana burn. So what I did is I put 3 chain lightnings in, and I put a Wheel of Fortune in. Now again, just ignore the 4 horsemen at the bottom. But if you want to check out some Texas old school, you can. Go to the4horsemen.com. There's a link to Texas old school from there. We have a Facebook group going on that you could get to know the guys and play around with us a little bit and put some feedback or hang out with us. Or if you're in the 4 horsemen community, you're already, if you pay attention to the chat tonight, you already have all the information needed. By the way, I did want to actually thank Brian Wiseman. He helped me out a little bit. I just want to say thanks for helping create this formats and doing what you do for old school. I think you're an amazing person and you help out a lot of things. Magic would not be the same if it wasn't for guys like you. Alright, so here's what we're going to have. So we're going to have a power sink on a Curd Ape. But now we have 2 angels, a lion, and a lot to deal with. And he's down to 5. So unless he pulls a balance out of his pocket, I don't think there's anything he can possibly do. there's the scoop. I think he said he's going to try anyway, so I put the stuff back. Yep, that's the shot in the dark. There was my hand. There's the Wheel of Fortune and the lightning bolt I was holding on to. Now he doesn't have stasis, so I'm going to get an untapped face. So he needs a lot. There's the Hammerheim you can see. Alright. So he's going to unsummon one of the angels, which is great when you have stasis out. Unfortunately, stasis is not there. There's Ancestral Recall to draw 3 more. That was my hand here real quick. I'm going to see if I can grab that again here for you quick. But I was showing the cards in hand. We were having discussions at the same time. Again, this is playtest, so if you mulliganed, it still draw 7. We are trying to find out the problems with the deck or possible format issues or what we can possibly do to change things, because we definitely all had to make more changes than we thought. Alright, so right there you can see the Altered Balance by my friend Will. Another Lion. Plateau. Mox Ruby, I believe it was. A Disenchant. Plateau. Chain Lightning. And another Sarah Angel. So it's kind of showing him like, hey, you gotta answer a lot. So he's doing his absolute best. Travis is an amazing Magic player. Great deck builder. He did end up, like I said before, there's another set of games after this with Chadster and him. So they were creating changes to their decks. I gave him a couple bits of advice, so I am not a master, but I definitely think in this format my Dune deck is going to be really, really good. Blood Moons will not bother me at all. I do have 3 base colors, and I have all the removal and burn I could possibly need to destroy you. I do not have Psionic Blasts, but you will use all your burn on my creatures. Let's go into game number 2. Alright, welcome back. Chadster's hanging out with us. So I'll be playing him after Travis here. But Travis is going to take a game number 2 start. And with a deck like this, I really expected Black Vice. Nothing I can do about that. Again, I apologize for the dice. When I adjusted the camera, I didn't realize I cut it off. There's a quick Curd Ape. Like I said, I always have a Lion or Curd Ape usually. It's very odd I don't have a 1-drop Curd Ape or Lion. I play 4 of each. And I will take a new picture and add it to the end of this video so you guys can check it out. So he has double blue, so he has counter magic up at the moment. So let's see if I can do some damage and possibly take some counter magic out of his hand. Here's another Curd Ape. Those will kill you fast if you let him. No counter. There's an island. And a pass. There's a plains. So now basically I can cast everything in my book, or everything in my deck except for what I can think of as book and the 3 Sarah Angels. There's going to be a swing for 4. Down to 14. Now I did take some vice damage, but now I'm going to start chucking things out because I know what kind of deck I'm up against. So there's a chain lightning to the face, down to 11. And I am at 4. I'm pretty much never going to be getting hit by vice again, unless he locks up the board and I do not have the ability to play anything. I am holding, I believe in this game I was holding disenchants and plows and stuff like that. So if I needed to, I could plow my own creature for life or anything like that. I did not sideboard. I was playing my main deck as is. One of these games I did sideboard. I don't know if it was this game or the other one, but I threw in 2 Divine Offerings and 2 Red Elemental Blasts. See, there's the boomerangs. Typically they're used to return Stasis, so you have a benefit and your opponent is still screwed. But as a kid, I played a lot of Stasis and a massive amount of control with blue. So I know how to get around Stasis most of the time. Now there is an ivory tower, so I'm trying to decide, should I get rid of it on his end step? So right now I'm kind of going through and calculating a couple odds here. He is at 4 life, but I think I can end him here. So I'm going to take a little bit of damage here. I accidentally picked up 2 cards. So to be fair, I put the card that I wish I would have had, but I looked at it by accident, so I put it on the bottom. Now there's a counterspell for the chain. I believe he had, because of the counterspell, he was not able to gain any life at all. So he's got to answer that Card Ape now. Alright, there's a Twister. Alright, so before I get rid of things, you'll see my hand there quick, but I did disenchant the Ivory Tower. I don't want him gaining life, just in case he pulls like a Time Walk and a Lotus. Alright, now I'll bring it back here just for a moment. He did pull his hand. He has a bunch of mana dump and a bunch of vices, but it is not enough to kill me. I believe I show my hand here. I had more than enough ways to end the game, I believe. Yep, there's a lightning bolt. So I had plenty of ways to end it, and Stasis was not going to bother me anymore. So let's go on to another game. Alright, so this is the game he sideboarded to make some adjustments to his deck. So I did sideboard in, like I said earlier, the 2 Divine Offerings and the 2 Red Elemental Blasts. I think in the Texas old school format, there's going to be because of Fallen Empires, you're going to see a lot of X points fun in there, but you're not restricted by point value. So there's another Vice. It's going to smack me in the face. I'm down to 17. Let's see how many cards I can empty in my hand out here. Do I have any lions? Oh, yeah, I had a moment here. I wasn't sure what in the world I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but I don't know why I wanted to change my land out when I didn't need green. I wanted red. So there's a quick dump. I'm down to 5. So he's going to take 17, so he's down the same life total I am. I did not have a lion. So there's the pass. Alright, there's the draw. There's the island. So he has double blue. Does not have white, but definitely has double blue up, so he does have counter magic. Again, you gotta watch the mana drain because, like X points, you have mana burn. Alright, so now I got all the colors going on here. Looks like I got lucky with my Sullivan library again. Again, I only play one library, one book, and one Wheel of Fortune. I should have took 1 damage from the Vice. I got sidetracked. I don't know if I had a Bolt in hand, but I wasn't worried about 1 damage or so from the Vice, but I think yeah, Bolt. Okay, I was playing Bolt on end step. So he's down to 14, I'm at 15, but I am down to 3 cards. He has 3 blue, so he has a lot of counter magic possibilities. Does play Power Sink, which is a great card, especially in Stasis. Tap your opponent's lands down. Say they play a Mox. You could literally Power Sink all their lands. So they have to pay everything for the Mox or not play the Mox, but they still going to lose all their land anyway. And on your turn, you play Stasis. That was one of the tricks I used to always do that people never really saw coming. Power Sink a Mox for 6 and watch what happens when you play Stasis next turn. So I do have a good mix. I do have a strip. So if he does play Stasis right now, I can take away his other blue source. Alright, there's a Mox. I believe what I had in my hand was all control cards at the moment. I thought it was very odd I wasn't getting the creatures. But again, this deck does have 15, so there is a chance I will not get them. I don't play any factories in here. I could have played 1, but I wanted to make sure that I definitely did not have any issues with Blood Moon. Alright, there's a book. This is where he's got to get worried. Definitely should not leave the book out. That's why it is restricted to 1 copy. So you play things like the deck or a lot of mana sources or something like I even have where I have a lot of mana. I don't need to keep things untapped for factories and stuff like that. So my mana sources are able to be used like the deck is used. And what I mean by that is if somebody was to go to attack me, I'd have to tap 1 to activate a factory and block and tap the factory for a 3/3 most likely, losing 2 lands, and that takes my ability of the book away. So because I do not have the factory, I don't need to worry about that all too much. Looks like I'm going to try and ride the book a little bit here. I do have the Sullivan Library and book. I don't have the sushis to play along with it, but with only 1 book and not being able to play a lot of factories, I did not want to take the chance. I did have a disenchant in hand, so there goes the tower. On end step. No counter magic. So that tells me he probably has 1 in hand. Now you look at the life totals, they are close here, 14-16. I'm really looking for 1 more mana source. There's the mana source. Now I can safely book and have a disenchant. or a Divine Offering if needed. There's an Ice Manipulator. I'm going to draw, even though I have the Disenchant in hand already, but I learned a lot by watching Brian. So I'm going to purposely take the extra damage to make it look like it was a top deck. I also had a Regrowth in hand, so I was not stressing being down on disenchants. So if you want to know the control aspect of this, as I call it, is control is not always counter spells, it's controlling the board and your opponent. So counter magic is definitely amazing and one of the best ways to control it, but 4 plows, 4 disenchants, 4 bolts, 3 chains, a regrowth, a balance, and a chaos orb, that will control a lot. Now, I did play the Serra Angel. You'll see the boomerang, but I did red blast it. So now if he wants to play Stasis, he has to bounce my Serra Angel again. The chances of him having that, I thought, were actually very low to have both cards. So if he does play a Stasis, to me that is a desperation thing. I did have a bolt in hand. My thought process was to draw with the book and bolt on end step. Okay, draw the 7. Let's see what I got here. There's a land. He does have plenty of mana available. He can technically do the Stasis and Boomerang if he had more mana in his hand, which I am not aware. But I don't know if he drew on summons. It doesn't look like he has anything at the moment. So I'm going to untap and look at my top 3. And normal me fashion, well, stuff I've been through, my brain is not the same and will never be again. So I constantly forget what's in my hand, especially since I try not to hold on to it. So there's a Taiga box and a Soul Ring. I'm going to swing for 4, see if he has anything to do about that one. Nope, he's going to take it and go to 10. I'm going to chain. Bolt. Put him down to 4. I'm going to play a second Serra Angel. There's the mana drain. Had to mana drain it. But here's the challenge. Like you guys who are X points masters, I am not. But you'll pay very close attention. You have to use the mana. So the card I was holding was not a Red Elemental Blast, it was a Lightning Bolt. So I bolted him down to 1. Now he has to use every single bit of that generic mana. And that's going to be very hard to use when you aren't playing 4 Suchis in a deck because of mana burn. So I am tapped out. At this point, I did not notice the double green that I mentioned earlier. You'll see that later on one of the other games. But there's a Divine Offering and a Disenchant. Those are my next 3 cards to choose from. Alright, so now you're going to see Chadster swapping out. I'm kind of running a gauntlet here, see how far I can go. Chadster is a really, really cool dude. I love him. I think he's a great guy. Definitely does a lot to help people in his community with Magic, um, above and beyond. You will not see his name on the top of those things because he doesn't like to take credit for those things, but he is a really good guy. And I have a lot of respect for him because of the things he's done for me. But there's a quick lion. There is a island and a city of brass. Now, I don't know the full count, but Chadster is playing a disco troll, but he is playing, I'm not sure if it's a true 12 bolt, but he does play blue for Psionic Blasts and other stuff like that, so he does have the full power package. Almost the full power package. I don't believe he plays a Time Twister because he doesn't want his opponents getting all of their plows and everything like that back in their hand. Same reason the deck does not play Time Twister. Now you saw me tap my forest, and I tapped my forest because I was like, hey, I have another forest in hand and I'm only supposed to have one in this entire deck. There's another swing. Now this hesitation and grab of cards tells me he has a Psionic Blast in hand. He is going to have to find an answer for that lion. There's a bolt. Not sure if he has any, Oh, he's going to fork it to the lion. Gotta love fork. It's an amazing card, especially when you can Ancestral Recall with a fork, or counter a counter with a fork, or time walk fork someone's time walk for an additional turn. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, but technically if you fork somebody's time walk, you take a turn, but your turn is the time walk turn first. There's the Sonic Blast. Oh, nope, counterspell. Yep, it's going to counter the lion. You haven't noticed I've been drawing very odd. So, lion, lion. I mean, I did have two lions, but I top decked the third lion right in a row. So all these crazy shuffles and everything seem to put everything together for me. There's a Taiga. Now I only have 9 actual lands that produce green. In this, when I had an accident, I had 10, but I only want a total of 10, including Mox. Now he's not finding his creatures, but I had, I think, 2 counterspells and 2 plow, or 2 counterspells, 2 disenchants and 2 plows in my hand. So at this point, I'm not doing a full aggression mode. You can see there I had 2 bolts and 3 lions, but I was really waiting for discs and trolls and things like that. Chadster was having an issue with the original version, which was a lot like a staple troll disco, but I have an issue when I play counter burn versions that only had 8 creatures in them, where I wasn't drawing my creatures enough, and it was very irritating. So there you'll see I put down the other forest eventually, and I was like, man, that's supposed to be a plains right now. I believe I have an angel in hand also at this point. So I'm like, man, if that's what it was supposed to be, I'd be playing an angel right now. So right after this game, the very first thing I did was swap that forest out for a plains. There's a troll. There's a plow. Now those altars and stuff, if you see things painted, if it doesn't say Yawgmoth Demon at the bottom of mine, which is my buddy Will, real good dude. You'll see those. It's done by my friend Rob. He doesn't sell altars or anything like that, but he's a real good guy, and I have a lot of respect for Rob. And I like having some stuff done by him because to me it means a lot. There's a fourth lion if you've been keeping count. Yeah, no apes, no Urnums, no just bizarre stack draws, even though I shuffled the living life out of this thing. And if you ever watch Four Horsemen, where I didn't cut them out, but usually we group 6 separate piles and you roll a random dice to see which stack your opponent has on top. So we do a lot of shuffles, a lot of other stuff, and just my luck typically when it goes weird like this way. But you'll see that Psionic Blast I mentioned earlier. When you're Psionic Blasting a lion, that's desperation. All I need to do is one Urnum out, and I'm probably going to kill you then. Because that tells me you're not going to have what you need to take care of that 5 toughness. Pardon me here. Yep, there's another Taiga. I think during this game I finished with the only 2 forests and all 4 Taigas, and I did not draw another white source, I don't think, the rest of this game. Which, by the way, I have a lot of white in here. I think it's 12 total white. Alright, so at this point I was gonna shoot off, and I was trying to see if I could cast 2 angels, but I am 1 short. And knowing he just used the other Sonic Blast, I'm going to take the chance and shoot it out there. If he does have that counterspell in hand, he's going to have to play it. So now I'm going to remove the counterspell from his hand. And if I start top decking Urnums, that's going to be a major problem. Now that hesitation tells me he probably has a mana drain now. So I thought he only had 1 counterspell in hand, but that gave it away that he probably had a mana drain also. So there's a strip line. Now if I was him, I would strip my only white source. Chadster's a good Magic player, so I believe he ends up doing that, but right now he's counting his mana up. I was kind of laughing, should I expect a giant fireball? But there's the strip on the white. Now the cards I have in hand I'm looking at right now. I was kind of laughing. I believe it's still 2 plows and a disenchant in hand. There, I caught my life was never on there, so I apologize again, everybody. Again, I want to thank everybody involved for creating Texas Old School. Again, this is like a dream to me. Poor Chadster's having big problems trying to find his 8 creatures in there. It's a good thing he has all the I believe he has a full 12 bolt in there. If not, it's at least 11. There's a Demonic Tutor. Alright, there's the grab. Again, it's great not having Mind Twist. You're not going to have a crazy Mind Twist that's going to blow your entire hand out turn 1 because somebody drew a Black Lotus. Now I'm going to throw out a book. There's the mana drain on the book. That's what I thought he had in his hand earlier, but he has to use all 4 mana. And it is 4 colorless, so we'll see what he has to use. Now, I expected him to grab a Ancestral Recall, but at this point I don't remember. I probably remembered in game if he played it or not, but at this point I do not. But him counting like that tells me he has a Brain Geyser. And at this point you have to calculate in hand. You don't have to discard either. Now with that many lands out, you can discard all your lands, but you don't want to overdraw too many. So I'm expecting a big, Brain Geyser with the mana drain, which is definitely one of those dreams. I've never been able to do that in tournament, but I believe I believe one of the guys I play with once in a while, John Garris, I believe he I think it's one of the cancer benefit tournaments. I think it was Goblin Hero Cup that Jonathan runs, and Jonathan's a great guy too. So if you know who Jonathan is in Goblin Hero Cup in Jersey, definitely go to that and help out. Huge cancer benefit and helps a lot of sick children. But I believe in that tournament, Garrus actually pulled out a mana drain to a massive Brain Geyser and got the edge to win the game he was in. I remember laughing about that on the way down. That whole crew in Scranton, if you know any of those guys up that way, definitely give them props. They're amazing people. Alright, there's a workshop, so I know what I'm going to strip. I was hoping he'd take some mana burn, but being Chadster and a good Magic player, he will not. It is not a desperation mana drain. So Travis had to take it because his was a desperation to try and stay alive. So there's going to be a disc. Alright, it's going to discard a land. So it looks like he had the perfect draw there. That's why you don't tap out the Brain Geyser sometimes, because you don't have to discard cards you need. There's a chain to the face. I did that right there because I noticed he did not have double red open. He has double blue, but not double red, so he could not send it back. There's a swamp. There's Chaos Orb. I love the Chaos Orbs that are Chaos Confettis. They're so cool. I remember when that card first came out, I played it and I was forced to rip it up. And I did not want to do that, but that was the first day that it came out. I think I drew another Taiga here. No. At one point, I ended up having a full play set of Taigas on the ground. And not a single other dual land. Alright, there's Ancestor Recall. That was awesome. Getting Brain Geysering and grabbing Ancestor Recall is huge. So now I have to worry because he has a Chaos Orb and a Disc. So if I was him, I'd be smacking the duels. So technically he can Chaos Orb a dual land off my desk and then Disc the Mox away. He's really not going to lose anything, but I will. I'll lose 2 lands to go down to 3. Now I'm at 60 card deck, but I only have 19 lands. I would like to throw a main deck Fireball in there, but I don't want to get too greedy. Alright, so there's the Shatter. So he does not have to do the other route. Looks like Badlands and pass. He still has 7 cards in hand. There is the 3rd Taiga. So I was just kind of laughing. I said, yep, you mentioned about the 2 green. I said, yes, that's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be a plow, or a white source, which would have changed the entire game. I'm going to pass with 4. Now again, if you're watching, these are complete test games. So these are not the final decks. I do have my final deck done. So like I said, I will either do a deck tech or try and add a picture at the end. I'll probably do a deck tech on it because I don't think I have my full sideboard completed at the moment. But I am going to toss out a Kurt Ape. So that is a problem for him. He's already very low. So if he flips on it, that tells me he doesn't have dark damage in hand. The Kurt Ape making out told me you didn't have counterspell magic. So his life being that low, if I draw anything, it's probably going to stick now. So what he did is take out a dual land and then disc. Does not want me to have that many mana sources. But if you've seen the cards and listened to what I've been talking about, you'll know most of my deck has a curve that's very, very low. There's another green source. I kind of laughed because at this point, if I drew one more Taiga, which I end up doing, I have every green source out of my deck that is not a white producer. Alright, there's a Singleton factory, so I gotta worry about him. There is the 4th Taiga. So at this point, I did draw every single green source out of my deck. That was not a Savannah, basically. So there's a swing in. I'm going to take 2 to the face. There's a volcanic island. And a pass. I'm going to play another Kurt Ape. I top decked another one in a row. Again, I don't know what is up with this craziness, but I did look through the deck, which will be cut out, so I'll tell you, but I looked through the deck and almost all of my cards remaining were in pairs of 2. Even after all the shuffling, sometimes that just happens to me. I don't know why. Alright, what are we tapping for here? Yep, disc. Now he can kill the Curdy with the factory, but he won't be able to do damage to me with his factory if my Kurt Ape is out. Let's see if I have it. What do I have here? Wheel of Fortune. That was a good top deck. Now he's on a low life total, so his hesitation tells me he's got a Psionic Blast in hand at least, but I don't know if he wants to play it. There's a Shatter on the Mox. I'm going to add a green. I know I'll probably end up taking Mana Burn, but if I draw something like an Urnum or something like that, I can draw a land and use that and play an Urnum. Alright, so he actually had 2 Sonic Blasts in hand that he's going to ditch. He was talking to me about it. I said I personally would not do it. This is why Time Twister, we were talking about earlier, is a bad idea, because you would have put cards back. Now, I wheeled, but basically, if he used 1 Sonic Blast, yeah, see, there's the cards I was holding. Angel, Disenchant, 2 Plows. No idea why I didn't draw a single white source, but whatever. If he used the Sonic Blast, he would take 2, put himself down to 6, which is just 2 direct damage spells needed. Now, I'm going to play my red. Now, I don't know if he has counter magic in hand or anything like that, but he definitely does that double blue up where he's not going to take any damage with it. So I'm going to tap and do a bolt. I saw no counter magic, so I'm going to do a chain. At this point, I almost want him to send it back and kill my Kurt Ape with it. It's going to entice him to kill it because now I don't have enough to bounce back. The reason I did it that way is so he would tap his blue without taking damage, and I would pay for my last Chain Lightning that I had in hand. Now, if you look, I had a library, Sylvan Library, Kurt Ape, and a Urnum left. Alright, so we made a couple adjustments to Chadster's deck here. You saw he was missing creatures. You'll see that forest off to the side. I definitely swapped that out, so that never happens again. But he put in, as a test, I said, hey, why don't, if you're looking for faster creatures, something that's going to be a benefit for you, and try Gargoyles in this format. And maybe 2 Guardian Beasts. If you played a Guardian Beast and a discs correctly, your Guardian Beast will die, but your disc will stay out. Because your disc can't be destroyed. So there's a quick lion. There's a Mox. I know he has a Soul Ring out in first turn, which is awesome. So I expect, something to come out. I tend to play Gargoyles mid-game, because at that point, their quick direct damage is out, their bolts and chains. And I found that Gargoyles were a nightmare for people. If you watched in the beginning, I did play Gargoyles main deck on the unpowered version of this, in its original form. I'm going to Chaos Orb and flip, and I'm going to flip on his land. I saw that he did not have anything. I'm going to show him right there. I had a full death package going on. So we're going to, because these are test games, we're going to quick change this up a hot minute. Alright, so I normally don't show this, but after all the normal shuffling, we in Four Horsemen typically do 6 and roll a random dice. I talked about this earlier. But you're going to see I kind of passed off the crown here. So Travis and Chadster made adjustments to their decks, and they're going to play. I overheard some of this, but I didn't really see much of it. My little guy was wanting to play at that moment, so I was spending time with him and trying to get him to work on speech. So let's see how this game starts off here. Alright, so let's see what happens here. Now at this point, Chatster really didn't know Travis had a deck that was Stasis. Alright, oh, that's an island for him, but no land drop for Travis. So if Chadster has, he didn't have a red source, but I was gonna say if he has a red source and a shatter, he could really cause problems. Looks like Travis got lucky and top decked the land there. But Chad does have double blue up at this point. Now he's got black. The problem Chadster, I think, run into is he doesn't have any quick creatures. Red really doesn't have any fast creatures. That's why you see typically Iron Claw Orcs. I love them. They're close to my heart. I love those cards. Oh, wow. There's a Chaos Orb. Let's see if we have a counterspell from Chadster. But we were picking on Travis earlier. Love you, Travis, but we're picking on him a little bit about if he ends up playing Stasis in a tournament, he's not going to have friends left. Alright, so he has a white out, which if you know anything about the original Stasis decks, Kismet is a real card, so I was always afraid of... Looks like he tapped the wrong mana source, but yeah, there's Kismet. Now, if you're not familiar with Kismet, if you're the controller of Kismet, all your opponents, everything basically comes into play tapped. So if you get a Stasis out with a Kismet, you are toast. Game over. Nothing here. So like I said, at this point, Chad doesn't realize it's Stasis, I don't believe. He probably has a funny conclusion because who plays Kismet without Stasis? But again, these are Four Horsemen players, so we play all kinds of janky cards all the time. Yep, there's a gargoyle. Now he only has one red source, which is crazy. But you'll see the gargoyles suck up plows. People don't want them to stick around. Now we don't have to worry about dark damage from Travis, but gargoyles will get plowed because people are afraid of if you get too much red, they'll never be able to kill it. I've already had people take a lot of damage from dibs because I played a gargoyle. Well, that's perfect for Chadster, so as long as he doesn't get Stasis this turn. Oh. Well. Disenchant will work. This is what I was talking earlier. I don't know how many he ended up putting in, but I definitely played a couple disenchants. I believe now I think about it, it was 2 Disenchants and a Divine Offering because I wanted to have the ability to gain a little bit of life if I needed it. Definitely agree with Chadster though. He's got to figure out how to make his deck work faster. But it is hard when you don't have cities of brass and factories and stuff like that. So there's a troll. There's another plow. Alright, well now Travis has plenty of blue and double white. So now you really have to worry because at this point he can play anything he wants right now. But if Chad untaps and plays something and say Travis has a power sink, this is the perfect time to use your mana to tap all of Chadster's. Well, we'll leave Chadster with 2. But basically you would force him to, well, he would have to pay for something. So say he plays something for 2 mana and you power sink it for everything, you're going to end up tapping. Yeah, so if Travis has a power sink, he can play power sink for the full mana value and tap everything Chadster has and then play a Stasis and end the game right there. Alright, so we're back. Chadster took his turn here. There's a troll. There's the boomerang of the troll. Once in a while, Chadster has this thing where his camera rotates very slowly on its own. I always laugh about it. Let's see what we got. Are we going to have a Stasis lock here? As mentioned, Travis too, I think I always played a one-off of Mana Short. Because especially in Stasis, that's basically poor man's Time Walk. Oh man, another troll. See, Travis can't let a troll stick. He'll end up dying. Troll's gonna kill him. Now that's how many plows in a row, so I don't think he has another answer for that. So he's gonna have to. Oh, he was trying to destroy it, even though it could regenerate, but there's a quick shatter on the activation. Oh, they're asking about the wording on Troll. So he's just kind of going over the wording there about how it's black and beautiful art by Dan. But one of the cool things I love about these test matches or test games here are because you can't just cookie cut a deck. You may not think it affects you that much, but when you actually build a deck or take one of your decks, you're going to realize when you take 3 factories out, your library out, your mind twist out, you're going to realize, whoa, wait a minute, am I splashing black for single demonic tutor? No. So you end up taking that out, your lands change, you realize you end up brewing a whole nother deck without even knowing it. It affects you a lot more than you think until you start building. Alright, so Travis is down to 17. There's that funny camera just doing its own thing again. There's a Howling Mine. I remember over here in this part, I saw Howling Mine. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I didn't play the Howling Mines because I wanted other ways to remove creatures and control the board. So I didn't die from creatures. But a lot of the guys play Howling Mines with it. I just thought that I felt like it was too many eggs in one basket, per se, where everything was based off of locking someone down and putting cards in their hands. But sometimes it's very hard to lock people down. So I chose to main deck 4 power sinks and a mana short, and that's what I used to tap people down. And I also played a few resets. So there's the disc, blew up the whole board. Obviously the troll regenerates. Whenever I'm in a game and someone's counting, I always like, oh boy, what am I in for? Alright, so there is, I do remember this part, there is the beast. He was using the beast as after disc. I was kind of like, hey, I think you might want to use it beforehand, so your disc stayed around. Now, that facing white, that could have, hurt you, but you just got a disc off. So chances of him having something else is pretty rare. So in Chad's reasoning, he went for the damage. I would have went for the disc. After seeing the cards I saw, I definitely would have kept the disc. So I would have played the Guardian Beast, blew the disc, generated the troll. Guardian Beast would have died, but at least you would have had your disc. Now, one thing Chadster can do, and let's see if anybody knows the name of this card, but it is a 1 casting cost black. It is from Fallen Empires. It gives your creature, I believe, a +1/+1, and you can sacrifice this card and regenerate a creature that it's attached to. So if you know what that card is, put it in a comment. But with the inclusion of Fallen Empires in here, that's actually a huge card that can be played to give your creatures regeneration, which is another reason I play 4 Plow still. Alright, so there's a swing. That's going to be a hard hit. To Travis, does he have any answers? Nope. We wish we were gaining life, but Chatser's at a healthy 25. Travis is at 9. And Chad is not tapped out. So unless Chad taps out, I don't know if he's got to worry about the stasis that he doesn't know about yet. Now, he might figure it out by now, but... Alright, we're going to boomerang on it. Now, I remember thinking to myself, I always waited till somebody's end step, so things could not be played out again. So instances can still be played off. But you couldn't recast your creatures because it was technically past your second main and you were on end step. So Chadster's, it was lucky he had a bolt in his hand. Now he has a lot of burn in that deck. Like I said, I think it's an 11 or 12 bolt version. I don't know if some of that came out for the creatures, but are we gonna see what do we got here? Brain Geyser. Okay. Do we have a counterspell? Yes, we do. Definitely don't want him drawing cards. Somebody taps that much for a Brain Geyser. It tells you they have a counterspell. If they leave the right mana open or they're faking it, either way, it tells you they're desperate to draw cards because they need answers or they need solutions to something. I mean, he's got to do something. Chadster's still at 25 and you're down to 3. But Chadster had a wonderful card there, Ancestral Recall. His camera decided it was going to freak out on him there for a second. But being at 3, Chad might be able to end it right now. Now, because of Kismet, your Strip Mine comes into play tapped, so you don't get a chance to use it. Boomerangs are awesome. Use them a lot for Horsemen and like counter burn type decks. Definitely, they're pretty good all around because basically, if you start your turn and you have a Mox or some way of getting a double blue out, when your opponent plays their first land, on their end step, you return that land to their hand. So you're on 3 lands and they're on 1. Now there's a Troll. Does come into play tapped. Are we going to see anything else from Chadster? Yes, we are. Going to see another Troll? Nope, Guardian Beast. Oh boy. Now see if he puts down Stasis now. Game's technically over. There's the city. There's the tower. This is perfect time for Stasis. Yep, there's the Stasis. Now there's a whole lot of turns after this, but I'm going to fast forward for a hot minute for you. Alright, so to give you an idea, skipped ahead a incredible amount of turns. I believe that was 15 minutes of camera time. And this was eventual scoop when it starts boomeranging a Stasis back and starts going through the whole insane challenge of I'm playing this deck and I won't have friends anymore. We still love you though, Travis. Alright, now we're back. Now, I did see these guys did sideboard in, so I skipped ahead of that for you. But why don't you put in the comments what if you were playing Chadster's deck, what card changes would you make? How would you make it faster? And how would you get around Stasis with those colors? But there's a quick opener. Again, no land, but we have a Mox to a Black Vice. Chadster has double blue up already, which is awesome, and a red. Looks like Travis top decked a island. There's Chaos Orb. Are we going to see Shatter? Yep. Love the shatter. Another island. I see a Chaos Orb. There we go. That's awesome for Jadster. I could take care of Stasis or something of that nature if it pops out. There's a tower. But with 3 mana, Jadster having red, he can already start slapping down trolls. Alright, looks like Jadster decided to flip. He's flipping right on the tower. Yep. Tell he's flipped a lot of Chaos Orbs in his time. There goes the tower. I think Travis did not want the tower to go. Just kind of holding on to it for a hot second. Yeah, now there is a Guardian Beast. Now I played them, but I played them in my sideboard. There's a swing. Oh. We gotta see counterspell. Nope. Just gonna recast and pass. Travis does not have the mana for Stasis, so I don't think you need to worry about it yet. There's an Ancestral Recall. Yep, there's a land drop. No Moxen or anything, or Lotus, so he definitely does not. Oh. Yep, there's a plow though, that'll take care of the guy. No more Guardian Beast. I think Chadster was main decking 2. So I think what he was messing around with was 2 Guardian Beasts, 4 Trolls, 4 Gargoyles. But again, I don't know if I main deck the Trolls or the Guardian Beasts, but Guardian Beast Chaos Orb is a real thing. But definitely needs to find some smaller creatures. There's a pass. I don't think Chadster ever has to worry about the Black Vices, even with the draw 7. I don't think it's the worry about it. But if Travis gets another Stasis lockout, then absolutely Chadster has to worry about it. And seeing what Chadster has, if Chadster gets greedy and plays a big creature or a big spell, I really expect Travis to Stasis lock at this point. Alright, so it looks like we did have the past turns there. We had some conversations for a while, but there is a disc. Fingers crossed he doesn't get Stasis locked right now. He does have red blasts, so if Chadster does have a red blast, he can blast it. Looks like we're just gonna have a pass. Figured he would have drew another land with All those draws going off, but Chancellor's going to blow up the board, put him back down to 2 mana. Real smart move from Chadster. What do we got here? Nothing, maybe. All right. I see a troll. Gargoyle. Counterspell. So you gotta red blast the counterspell. Yep. There's another island. Oh, Ivory Tower. Okay. All right, there's the pass turn. Again, if you ever see things that look like they're skipped, they are. It's because it went into a lot of conversation. Ooh, good shatter. Travis countering it. Yep. All right, so there's the pass turn. And draw. Another land. What many lands Johnster has in his deck? I feel like with all these lands, I wonder if he doesn't have enough red mana for the gargoyles. I thought he had more red mana sources in his deck, but I said they're really good if you have a lot of red mana. Basically, all you need is 3 red. Which typically you wouldn't have a problem because you usually run, 3 cities or 2 cities. But there's another island. Let me see. Oh, I see. Soul Ring. And a quick pass. Looks like Chancellor's still having problems finding creatures. There's a strip mine. Are we going to see a Kismet at this point? Brain Geyser. Big Brain Geyser. Alright. Gotta counter that away, otherwise you know he's gonna... Yep, there's a Red Blast. More land. As long as Chancellor doesn't tap all the way out, I think he's safe for a while. Brain Geyser. Poof. Got a lot of Brain Geyser activity going off here. adjust that camera there quick. That was my computer turning off. It dropped me off the map. Oh, we are completely tapped out. That's not good. We're down to last couple minutes here. Let's see what happens. I feel like we're going to strip the active land there. Where are we going to play? All right, there's a Vice. We're going to see a Stasis. Yeah. I'm expecting a... Yeah, that's kind of the end going on here. Let's see what Travis had coming up. See a lot of boomerangs and things like that, so these guys are going to make some more adjustments, possibly change their decks completely around, but we'll see what actually happens and see what everybody ends up playing for the tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. This is the first one that I'm aware of that's going up, so please take a look, share it with your friends. If they have any ideas about the format or they want to join in or just play some test games with test decks, more than welcome to join the communities. If you need anything, you can find some information on Facebook. Just go to Four Horsemen and you'll see some information or links, or go to Discord and ask for information. We'll give you some invites. You guys all have an amazing day and good luck.